everyone. Welcome to this edition of Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Doze, joined today by Eric Teskey. Eric and I are still kind of riding high off of this run of interviews we've been on. We don't have any special guests today, Eric. It's just you and me, and we're going to be reviewing the last issue of Catherine Blair, Perry Perez, and Team's TVA limited series number 5 that came out very recently. So no special guest, Eric, but I guess we could be each other's own special guest on this episode.
Be my guest, be your own guest. We're each other's guests for this breakdown, this wrap up of the TVA miniseries. Yeah, we read all 5 parts. I think we talked about every single one on the podcast. We were very diligent because this is TVA was so Thor adjacent with such a. I mean, it was basically the Loki series, right, where we really got reintroduced to the TVA. And so we were hanging on every issue, waiting to see what would happen, waiting to see if that green cloak would be Loki or not, waiting to see if these mysteries would be explained and unraveled. And so now we finally have some answers. So, like Eric said, this is the last issue of a series that we initially started reading this. This is on me, everybody. I convinced the stable of co-hosts. I'm like, hey guys, TVA, it's Thor adjacent, it's Loki adjacent. Maybe we'll get a Loki appearance in here. We know all the characters from the TVA. You know, Mobius, OB, B-15, Sylvie. But here's what happened along the way. Along the way, we found some other characters, like, at the end of last issue, Scarlet Witch, the reveal of Nightmare being the villain behind, the madness. In this last issue, we get another character reveal. It felt like the Russian nesting doll of appearances, where it's like, oh, you think that's everybody? No, it's not. Oh, you think that's everybody? Again, no, it's not. Catherine kept kind of revealing things to us even up until the finish line. And I almost feel like there was a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end, where, if for some reason they wanted to return to this story, I feel like there is a little bit of a breadcrumb there towards the end that they could maybe make a meal out of later on. But the series kept revealing things. And as we got further and further away from the Thor Loki adjacent area, we actually we got closer into the world of Wanda and the Scarlet Witch and referencing the multiverse of madness. And so we started out thinking it would be one thing. We got way far away from that, but we actually got closer to another thing. Kind of what overall, Eric, what do you think kind of like of the trajectory of the book? Because it really shifted and turned on us a lot. It definitely kept me guessing. I mean, we knew from the very first issue on the cover there was going to be some characters that weren't in the original TVA, right? We saw Captain Carter, we saw a Gambit variant, and so we saw some new clocks. So we knew there was going to be some changes.
Spider-Gwen.
And it was Spider-Gwen, yeah. So that wasn't a surprise necessarily, but we did. I think the word I kept coming back to was layers. So I like how you said sort of like this Russian nesting doll of sort of, as we went along, we realized that the core TVA sort of home base really was sort of like a home base or like a backdrop that these other stories were being told, alongside, and not everything was just going to be happening within the walls of the TVA.
Yeah.
So they would jump off to different locations. They were jumping through the different timelines and picking up clues along the way to this ever evolving mystery that starts with the madness, which is this sort of sickness that causes people to have nightmarish visions of walking through the TVA. Nightmares ended up being a pretty big clue even early on. So
madness and nightmares were words we should have been paying more attention to.
We should have been paying more attention to. Yeah, they were right there. So in hindsight, but then we had a stabbing mystery. We had a weird energy mystery. We had all these layers of mysteries. And then it was exciting to actually be able to get some definitive conclusions that felt really good in this issue to actually kind of tie some things up.
Yeah, I think if I were to go back and reread the whole series, we're recording this the day that issue 5 is coming out. So I haven't had time to revisit the whole series. Maybe once it's out on Marvel Unlimited, I'll check out issues 1 through 5, and maybe I can give more of a, I don't know, like a retrospective on it, if that's something we need to do. But if I were to go back and look at the whole series, I have a feeling that it would feel a lot like the TVA series, where like the series is not about big fight scenes. It's not about big bombastic, explosions. And we get some of that from time to time, but it's more about how the characters learn to trust each other and then not trust certain others, the mystery of it. Really, it's kind of unfolds like a noir where you really don't know who to trust, and then when you finally get to the end, you get a little bit of a conclusion, but there's always that little thread that you could pull at. There's always that thing you could continue down the road with, and the comic really does feel like that towards the end. Eric, I think it's probably time we should let people know, like, this will be a spoiler-filled, review, but to give them a synopsis of what happens in the climactic issue of this TVA limited series. Are you ready to do a little bit of review time?
Yeah, just as you were talking there for a second, it made me think of, if I was going to look back at this series, I think this would be for the type of comic book reader that I am, where I like to pull the little threads and I hyperfixate on little details like that. It sort of baited me into these different things. I was like,
God, yes.
The reality shard, that must be super important. Oh, this book in the library, that must be super important. But really, all of those are just red herrings. It's red herrings all the way down. And so it definitely kept you guessing.
Right. I for any of you old film buffs, at certain times TVA gave me Maltese Falcon vibes, where it's like, what is the Maltese Falcon? It's literally just a thing that they're all looking for. Like, what's going to happen with it at the end? Literally nothing. So it's like, reality shards. What are they? They're what we were looking for. What's going to happen with them at the end? Nothing. It's like, okay, fantastic. We needed a MacGuffin for people to go after. And then when we got to the end, certain things, like we were saying, we should have paid attention to Nightmare and Madness a lot more during this series. But the movie does come to a conclusion with issue 5. We have chased our way all the way down to the Department of Deferment, where Spider-Gwen, she's effed around and found out a bit. So this issue is written by Catherine Blair. This is drawn by Perry Perez, and the colors are by Guru EFX. Letters by the lettering god Joe Sabino. And this team, I think, put together just a really good-looking comic. A lot of the aesthetic choices, like making the synopsis pages, computer screens like they would be in the TVA, I thought were nice little aesthetic choices, giving readouts, of the character profiles that look like old kind of matrixy style computer printouts. That was fantastic. Really liked that aesthetic to it. Here's how we start the 5th issue. We get Miss Minutes interviewing Ingrid. Ingrid is a character that we've kind of seen pop in and out, but not really known what's the end game for Ingrid. And we do get to learn her end game towards the end of the issue, so we'll keep you in suspense for that. And then we go back to the Department of Deferment. Scarlet Witch, Nightmare, and Spider-Gwen are kind of in this standoff, this 3-person standoff. And Nightmare is trying to sway Scarlet Witch to his side. Scarlet Witch is having none of it. They start fighting, and Gwen runs back to our cast of characters, our heroes from the TVA and some of our superhero variants. They start putting together pictures of what has been actually going on, that Nightmare was behind a lot of it, and that Scarlet Witch they don't want to let her free because they don't know if she's good, if she's bad. What kind of Scarlet Witch are we dealing with here? And then we realize that this fight is going to kind of destroy the TVA if they don't put Scarlet Witch back on ice and stop Nightmare. There is a fantastic conversation between Spider-Gwen and Scarlet Witch that I would like to hit on a little bit later, Eric. There was some fantastically written dialogue in that scene where they're talking about kind of the nature of being a hero and being a villain that I really enjoyed. But we learn in all of this that our pal Ingrid, who has stayed kind of in the shadows during most of these issues, she is actually Nightmare's daughter, the Dream Queen. And kind of for myself, actually an obscure villainess that I didn't know much about, but makes sense that she is related to Nightmare, given her name, just her name alone, Dream Queen. And she has, she walks into the mist of an explosion that's happened in the TVA as Ingrid, and she comes out with like horns, and she's got this like dress on, and I was like, okay, revealing another character. Like Catherine Blair continues to unearth the next doll underneath this doll that we're actually like, oh, this is the last doll, right? Nah, the secret mystery doll. So we learn that Dream Queen is behind a lot of the activities that have been going on in the previous issues, and she distracts Nightmare long enough for a Flurkin, of all things, just a harmless looking cat, to swallow up Nightmare, and eventually the Flurkin, sorry, I need to get that correct. The Flurkin then deposits Nightmare into one of these chambers, the kind of chamber that was being used to hold Scarlet Witch. Spider-Gwen has a moment with Wanda where she's like, hey, she has one of the temp pads and she knows that she can stop Wanda if she wants. But Sylvie steps in and basically says, no, we're letting her go because we need to let her kind of make her own choice in the world, like whether she's going to be good, bad, or whatever, which I thought was kind of an interesting choice for Sylvie to make in that point of the story. But we let Wanda go. And B-15, once all the heroes are kind of, the conflict is done, B-15 says, well, we've got people on the lookout for Wanda. And it's just like, if only we had her like cornered with a temp pad before. So our last little, almost like an epilogue, is Spider-Gwen, Jimmy, who's kind of like a Wolverine variant, kind of, I guess. A Wolverine variant that looks a lot like Sabretooth, put it that way. But then I just put that together, Eric, that he kind of looks like Victor Creed. But then Ingrid, back in her human guise, like the guys that everyone knew her as, she and Jimmy and Gwen are walking to the cafeteria to get some pie. Pie is a huge thing in the TVA. We get a lot of good conversations over pie, whether it's in the MCU TV show or this comic. And in the last panel, Eric, we see Ingrid's eyes go all white and almost glowy as the two other characters are in front of her. She's walking behind them and her eyes get all glowy. And I'm going to pull up the last bit of dialogue that she has. She just says, she says, sure, Jimmy. And then her eyes turn glowing. She's like, keep dreaming. And then the last line is for all time, always, which I didn't even know we would get a cliffhanger. I love that last few panels that we actually had a cliffhanger. I was like, oh my gosh, is Ingrid going to like kill them all in their dreams, Freddy Krueger style? I'm like, what's going to happen here? So yeah, Eric, the cliffhanger towards the end, kind of a wrap up, but a little bit of a thread that maybe can be pulled out later on. Overall, what did you think of the landing?
Well, and then don't forget the very last page.
Oh,
which
yes,
is
the clocks. Yes.
Yet another existential mental meltdown of like reading these posters. Imagine just this on the wall, and they're like, "Hey, y'all, did you know that there's a version of you that's made every right decision ever? Because if we have infinite timelines, there's a version of you that has done nothing wrong, and you've said everything right their entire life, and they're great." And you're like, wait, so then I'm not. Like,
There's someone out there that's made all the right decisions. It's not you.
it's not you.
There's someone out there.
Oh man, and they're just doing it with a smile the whole time. So
yeah, of course, she can't help it. She's a psychotic low clock.
But the story itself, I think, definitely ends on a cliffhanger. I think overall, we can pick at some of the pieces of this issue, but overall, this issue was exciting. Yeah. This issue had conclusions that we've been wondering about. So it was very satisfying to sort of be like, oh, who stabbed Mobius? Now we know. Like, it was just like, are we going to get all these questions answered? Because it seemed at the time like a lot to kind of tie up in a single issue. So there was a lot of action, a lot of excitement. Definitely kept you guessing. I would not have assumed that Dream Queen, a character created in 1987, who had a few appearances in the 90s, she actually came back more recently in an issue of Scarlet Witch.
Oh, awesome.
Like one of the more recent ones. So she was inside Viv Vision's head, causing Viv to have bad dreams. And so I think it's one of those things where you don't hear about a character for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it's like twice in the same year. Something like that.
That's why I love comics. I mean, man, like most of these characters were created in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's just like, most of our tentpole like kind of Marvel characters were created in the 60s. There's a lot of villains and a lot of side characters that probably a lot of us have never heard of. So for Dream Queen to be like brought back into prominence, is this in the Steve Orlando Scarlet Witch series, Eric?
I believe so. That one's sort of started and stopped a few times. And so it was Scarlet Witch #2, but I don't know if it's the most recent Scarlet Witch or the one from like a year ago, but it's still pretty recent.
Okay. So yeah, that's awesome. I love when obscure characters get thrown back into a story, and then it just gives the kind of the mega nerds, the sickos, a little bit of some research to do, some homework, it's a great use of our time. Great use of our time tracking down Dream Queen's first appearance, like Erica's done. Well, one thing I just wanted to pick at this, Eric, this was my favorite part of the issue, was I love comics where characters get to speak in a way where they're wrestling with something. I love the dialogue between Gwen and Wanda, two characters who have incredibly tortured backstories and who are, Gwen is such a interesting character because our Gwen Stacy in the 616 is dead. This Gwen has in a way replaced her, the other Gwen, but she's also her own Gwen. And we get that mirroring with her conversation with Wanda about being good or bad. And again, everybody, spoilers. Please go read this comic. Please go support the creators that are doing this awesome work. I just wanted to share my favorite bit of dialogue here where Wanda is responding to Gwen's questioning, and she says, people have been calling me dangerous my whole life. When my brother was shot by a protester after Sokovia, I joined the Avengers to show that I wasn't a villain, but I did that wrong. I grieved wrong. I even died wrong, which is why I'm here. But do you know what I saw when I was in the in-between in that pod, the place where she was being kept in the Department of Deferment? I watched Doctor Strange mind wipe an entire world just so that a teenager could get into college, a reference to America Chavez. And I watched this place admit the timekeepers, the ones who supposedly decided that I should lose everything more than once, weren't even real. They weren't called monsters. They weren't locked up. You're holding that tempad. You're holding my fate. Are you a hero or a villain? Because I am neither. I will not be anyone's hero. I will not be anyone's villain. And I am not going back in that box. Like, it's fantastic monologue. Fantastic. And I love how Catherine really, like, in that page, that all happens on one page. I love that Catherine draws out all of this emotion from Wanda. That if you know a little bit, like Eric, if you know a little bit of the Scarlet Witch's story, you know, the emotion of being so powerful that like some people automatically like just think you're the villain no matter what because you're so powerful. And she just, she has her because I'm a grown man with ADHD and I grew up in the 90s, Eric, I have to make this comparison. She has her Toy Story 2 moment where she just says, no, I'm not going back in the box. I'm not going back in the box.
Toy Story 2 reference. Nice.
So I don't know, Eric, do you have any thoughts on that? Like that page, like that conflict, the internal conflict in Wanda as Gwen has her fate in the palm of her hand with the Tempad. And Wanda actually talks her down.
Yeah, on that page, first of all, just a quick question. The Doctor Strange mind wiping an entire world so a teenager could get into college, you said that was a reference to America Chavez?
Peter Parker, sorry.
I was like, wait, am I misremembering this?
No.
Something...
You're entirely right. I misread that. I was like, no. Yeah, you're right.
Because that's that was the we're all going to forget who Peter Parker is and forget who Spider-Man is. That's the reference to that. Okay, I was like, did something happen in Multiverse of Madness? I don't remember.
No.
Because she didn't go to college. She went to Comertage, right? She's going to be a little. She's going to be a little wizard.
She's going to be a little wizard.
I like up earlier on the page when she's talking about how her brother Pietro was killed by protesters, which also confirms that she's not the same MCU continuity Wanda, that she was from a different continuity where Wundagore Mountain didn't kill her. So that also kind of helps clear things up where it's like, wait a second, did Catherine intend this to be the MCU Wanda? No, this is right here in the dialogue that we know. It's a little bit slightly different twist on the story.
So that for my money, Eric, that was my favorite part of this comic, is the conflict. I think Wanda and Gwen are such perfect characters to do that with. They have these painful moments that are very relatable. I believe for a cosmos altering chaos witch. She's a very relatable cosmos changing chaos witch. But Eric, what was your favorite part? Was there another part that stood out that we would be unfaithful to the text if we did not bring it out for listeners?
Yeah, I really liked some stuff with Sylvie, but before I get to that, I want to just mention Dream Queen does have this quote that I thought was funny because it's a little bit of comedy woven in there. She's, talking about all that she had to sacrifice because she has more patience. She's playing the long game. Yes. She's enacting her plan. And she said, I came here and worked a desk job. I got coffee. I learned how to use the copier. Like she's listing off all of her grievances of like, what I've been through.
She's not the queen of darkness, Eric. She's the intern of darkness.
I know. I had to do office tasks. Like, do you know what I sacrificed?
That's real hell, man.
That's real hell. So I thought that was really funny. I really like the part with Sylvie where she's talking about how we're all writing our own stories now, because that's the Sylvie that I know from the TV show. And she's very much like, she's not quite an anarchist. She just wants to let people out of their, prisons of like, if you can't guarantee that everything's going to work out. That's just not a realistic thing that you can do while still giving people their freedom. So you have to just see how it turns out. And that's okay. And it's scary, but that's the right thing to do. And so I thought that was very in character of her. And she does the right thing, in my opinion, I think, in letting Wanda go, even though, like a couple pages later, they're still like, well, but low key, we got to go like try to find her because we're still trying to like at least make sure that she's not one of the bad ones.
Well, and even just to quick piggyback off the thing you said with Sylvie, Gwen asks the follow-up question when Wanda is kind of like, she's almost through the time door. Gwen asks the question, how can we find you if we need help? How will you know if we need to assemble? And that assemble is in bold. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. And I just love that Wanda's answer is like, you won't call me.
Yeah.
I'm not an Avenger.
That's not what I do now.
And again, that's another thing of like, in her backstory that she gives us in this issue, she was an Avenger she had a really good reason to join the Avengers because of the loss she felt. But now she's like, that is not, nope, I am not, don't call me. I'm not a whistle away. I love that thing where she truly is. It's not one of those things where it's like, okay, well, but yeah, if you like really need me down the road, she's like, leave me the hell alone. Like, I was stuck in this tube forever. I want to go do some shit.
Getting the F out of here.
Get the F out of here.
Ryan, I had a question for you. There was something that I found in here, and I was, eagle-eyed readers will maybe see the same thing on the page where Sir Seconds is glitching and Gwen comes back in. The book on the desk is glowing. Is that the book from the library? Why is that book glowing on the table? You see that on the page where Sir Seconds is glitching out right after Nightmare and Wanda are battling, and I didn't know what that was a reference to, because we see Ingrid at the start when she's got all of the like different clues laid out in front of her. She has that silver thing is the scabbard that the dagger went into, and then they had these I think the book was another important artifact or something. That must have been the one from issue 2 that they got from the library, but I just wasn't sure why it was glowing.
Honestly, that would be my guess, that's the book they got from Hellstrom's library. But I don't know. Like, that's a great question. That's a question I would love to ask the author herself.
Yeah.
Someday. No, I think honestly, probably the most logical thing is we probably have to go back to issue 3, and maybe if we just saw the book that they grabbed from Hellstrom's library, that would be,
see if it's the same one.
If it's the same one, but I don't have issue 2 handy right now. But yeah, let's maybe that's something we'll post on social media. Be like, aha, we found the answer to the mystery no one was asking about except for us.
Or maybe it's just another red herring. Like I said, this book has been chock full of them. I mean,
exactly. I think, hey, if there's one thing that I really want to tell Catherine Blair to her face someday, or over the internet, just be like, hey, thank you for making us continually guess. Because sometimes I like for a comic to spoon feed me the answer. Other times I don't. Like right now, we're Eric and I and the other guys, Faz and Will, we're all reading Doctor Strange of Asgard, which is Derek Landy and the kind of the team telling the really only Thor adjacent side story in the One World Under Doom mega event. Mm-hmm. So in that, we've gotten a few clues, but really we still don't know the conclusion of the mystery. And I feel like Catherine Blair did a very similar thing where she kept teasing us with these red herrings and these different things that I think someone with a less long view could look at and be like, oh, that didn't pay off. Or maybe it was a red herring. Maybe this is a mystery. And if, any classic style mystery, there are red herrings, things that are just there to confuse the reader.
It's misdirection.
Yeah, it's misdirection.
Or Ryan, like you said, it's the Maltese Falcon.
It's the Maltese Falcon.
I Googled that. It's a movie. This movie's from 1941. Why have you seen this movie? It's
a fantastically long movie. It's a good movie, but I every so often I fall down this, old black and white cinema rabbit hole. And I was watching the Maltese Falcon a few months ago and I was like, when the hell are they going to find this damn statue? And it gets to the end where, film buffs and people that, do film studies in college, they're like, oh my gosh, it has such a fantastic wrap up. And it's like, hold on, the bird doesn't do anything? What the hell? It doesn't do anything. It's not anything. Oh my God. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's 2+ hours of my life I'll never get back. And
now I have to watch it. Do anything. I feel like that's, and it's got such a great title too. It sounds so important, and this artifact you need to get. It's
set up kind of like in my mind, it was like, oh, this will be like Indiana Jones when, like, they find the Ark of the Covenant and then it, burns all the Nazis away at the end. It's like, nope. Maybe it'll be like, the Holy Grail and it'll give Indy a way to save his father with eternal life. Nope. It's like just a bird. Anyway, that's my Maltese Falcon rant that literally no one asked for.
Well, you can set the Maltese Falcon next to the book and next to the scabbard from the knife on the
that's what we'll do.
Clues on the desk that don't do anything. So,
oh, Eric, I guess anything else that we need to investigate? Any clues we need to unravel with TVA number 5? Because it is our only book that we're currently covering on the show that came out this week. We're on a little bit of a dry spell right now.
I know a little bit. I mean, we've had some weeks where we have so much Thor stuff we have to pick and choose, or we have to do 2 episodes in a week or something like that. Yeah. But
we have another one of those weeks coming up. I know that when whatever week the next Immortal Thor comes out, there's a lot, and I'm sure we can chat about that at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to kind of close the book on this book, for me, there was, it all goes back to layers. In this issue, it seems like we have the layer of the core TVA cast that really sort of sticks to home base. We have the layer of the heroes that we meet along the way, and they are the ones really sort of going out and doing things. And then we almost have a layer of these 11th hour characters that were introduced either in the issue right before this or in this issue, and they're the ones really having the big brawl, and they're the ones that are tying things up. I thought that Captain Carter was she only had 2 lines, I think, in this issue, and one of them was just a little. It made me a little sad because she literally says "Sounds like you guys had quite the night." And I'm like, that kind of it's very self-aware that she wasn't at any of it. It's like, that's the kind of thing you say when your friends are talking about some crazy story or adventure that they had. It's like, yeah, sounds like it was a pretty wild time. I don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, because, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, because the cast was so expansive for a 5-issue book, some people just were a little underserved, and maybe that's the point, was that we were focusing on a few characters, but we had a lot of side characters. I got excited when I saw Captain Carter on the cover of the first book, and I was like, yes. I love when Peggy shows up with the shield in books. And I think her teaming up with Spider-Gwen and Gambit variant, and, the core team for the TVA, I was like, oh, cool. They'll be agents going on these secret missions and stuff. And I feel like we just barely saw Peggy in this series. And I don't say that as a criticism. I say that as a big fan who wanted to see more of her. Mm-hmm. Who wanted to hear more of her dialogue, hear more of her leadership, actually give her a bigger, proper fight scene. Maybe get some revenge against Wanda, because the last Wanda we saw face off with Peggy did her dirty. But that would have been a fun little thing. They could have not even directly reference, just have Peggy have throw the shield at Wanda, and then have Wanda ricochet the shield, and it almost cut her in half, but then she gets out of the way, and she's like, whew, that was a close one. That, even that alone would have just been a fun little huh, if you know, you know. But yeah, I think Peggy was the thing that I was like, okay, I could have seen more of her. I think I also just wanted to see Sylvie do more. Because she's kind of the, I know I told the guys, I theorized a TVA series that focused actually more on the TVA personnel we know, and less on the bigger name heroes coming into the book. A Sylvie led TVA series, I would have been all here for. Yeah. I could have used more Sylvie. I could have used more Mobius, the characters that we already are a little more familiar with. But all in all, I think this was a really good wrap-up issue. There's a breadcrumb for later if they want to, bring on Dream Queen and the TVA, that kind of enemy from within kind of thing. But Eric, any final thoughts, TVA 5, and then we can just kind of give people a little bit of a rundown on what's coming up for Thor stuff.
Yeah, just don't forget this TVA series is the one that had the first appearance of Miss Minutes in an interior page and not just on like a variant cover. And this really could be the launching point for the TVA in Marvel being sort of rebooted, because the TVA exists outside of time and space, and so this really can be a nexus, almost like a common ground with the MCU or with comics. I mean, just that whole just wondering about, is this the same one or not? Is this the same one from Deadpool? That kind of keeps it exciting, because it makes you think like, there's no reason it couldn't be, because it's outside of all the different timelines.
There's so much more like meta fun you can do.
Yeah.
Agreed. But thank you to the team. Fantastic read. Appreciate all the comics, and we have lots of comics coming up. Eric, just real quickly, we can just tell people that the week that this episode is coming out, you'll have an issue of Spider-Gwen that features Loki. We'll have Thor showing up in Storm 8 with Mirawa and Luciano. No, I don't think Luciano's doing art for that one anymore. Maybe he is. I don't know. Everybody.
No, it's back to Lucas Wernick.
Okay, Lucas Wernick. Also badass. So Thor and Storm presumably are going to team up against the new Thunder Gods, and I think that's what the cover kind of tells me. But then it's the next week. It's the middle week of May where we have one of those big comic dumps, Eric, where it's Immortal Thor 23. We begin the death of the mighty, death of the Immortal Thor kind of 3-issue arc, and then Doctor Strange of Asgard number 3, the One World Under Doom tie-in that our show is following, and then the second installment in maybe Eric and I's new favorite pet obsession in Marvel is Miles Morales Spider-Man number 33. Eric, these 3 books that we're definitely covering on the show, Immortal Thor, Doctor Strange of Asgard, and Miles Morales. I gotta say, I'm really hyped for that Miles Morales book.
I mean, of those 3 books, only one of them has Hercules in it.
That is freaking true, everybody.
It could be a sleeper favorite. We don't know what's going to happen. But
we get Ares and Thor and Miles and Hercules. We're starting, what was it, the Tournament of the Gods?
That Miles Morales Spider-Man arc with the gods in it is going to continue right on through July. We're gonna have something in Miles 34 and 35. So it's not just it's not just like a 1 or 2 little issue. This is like a whole arc we have.
I love it. I love it so much. And that, like, Marco Reyna is the artist on that, and one of my I love newfound favorites. So then I get to go look back through their work and read other things they've done. But everybody, if you have not picked up Miles Morales Spider-Man 32 by Cody Ziegler and Marco Reyna, you need to go pick that up, because it's the first, like Eric said, first installment in this 4-issue story, the Gods story, with Miles teaming up with Thor and Hercules, and this issue 33 is going to kick ass. I also know, like, we're very excited about it's weird to say that we're excited for the death of the mighty Thor, of the Immortal Thor. But yeah, Eric, in issue 23, we start that march towards issue 25, where even an immortal can die.
Yeah, and he's going to die, and they're going to discontinue the Immortal Thor. I don't know if we've talked about that on the show before. If you haven't been following along,
that needs its own episode. I don't know.
Yeah,
we talked about the news that he's dying.
He's going to die, and it's going to end, and we don't know what's going to happen next. It hasn't been announced past issue 25, so.
I don't know, man. God. I mean, we're not going to run out of Thor stuff to talk about. That's for sure. Because, we'll probably start our new. I imagine that would be a good cause. I haven't even talked to the guys about this, but I would imagine that would give us a lot of time to start our next creator spotlight that we're not revealing. We're not revealing it right now, but that we've had a lot of talks in the mythological group text that we kind of have a feeling of what we want to do next, creator spotlight wise. But we finished up Simonson a few months ago, I think. But maybe Immortal Thor ending, taking a break from a regular Thor book. Maybe that's I don't know, Eric. Maybe that's the impetus we need to do the next creator spotlight. I don't know.
If there's time, we don't know what they're going to do because we only know that the Immortal Thor is going to end in July, and maybe the next one picks right back up, or maybe there's a little bit of a buffer. We have no idea.
Maybe they're keeping us in the dark about it. Maybe there will be a break. Who knows? We'll be there. We'll be there to cover it no matter what. Then just to kind of wrap up May, like things people can look at May relate, in May that are Thor related. I really do think we should cover Hulk 25 because it is Nick Klein on the Hulk book returning to Thor. And Thor and Hulk are going mano a mano. I guess God v monster. I kind of feel like this is a spiritual successor to Banner of War, which was one of the first, it was the Hulk Thor crossover that Donny Cates really wanted to do, but then that kind of got murky and muddy with the end of Donny's run not happening the way really it was intended, I believe. So this is Philip Kennedy Johnson taking a crack at Hulk versus Thor, and I've really enjoyed Philip's Thor run so far, or his Hulk run so far, and those of you that maybe have talked to me on Instagram or in real life, I'm a big fan of Philip Kennedy Johnson's Superman run, where he did the War World saga with Superman. It is a phenomenal read. So I'm really excited to see what Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein can do with Hulk versus Thor coming out later on in May. Have you read any of the solicitations for that, Eric?
Just that they are billing it as a rematch. Yeah. And so it looks like it's going to be a big fight. And it looks like it is Nick Klein on interiors as well, because he's just been doing the covers recently on Hulk. Yeah. He started at the interiors there, and now he's just doing the covers, which the covers are... Go follow Nick Klein on Instagram and see these amazing works of art. Just absolutely unreal. Monster, body horror, just creepy stuff, but like so well done.
I couldn't agree more. If you're listening to us and you don't follow Nick Klein on Instagram, come on. Honestly, Nick Klein is a master. And his style is so evocative of what Eric said, like creepy body horror. Like his Hulk is grotesquely awesome. And I know that's all right up Eric's alley. Yeah, I am the body horror guy.
I have read Immortal Hulk, and they do some really gross stuff in there, and I made it out alive. So I have gotten through that stuff. I don't seek it out usually unless it's like acclaimed.
Eric made it through the green door, everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Eric, any other final thoughts? As we kind of wrap up this short review of TVA number 5, and then kind of just a quick look at what's up ahead for Thor stuff. I feel like May is going to be a good month for Thor stuff. We have a lot of things to look forward to. A lot of fun issues that continue stories we're already invested in. Is there any final thoughts you have? Because if not, we're just going to hop aboard the Rainbow Bridge and peace out.
Just that my wallet is feeling the pressure. The summer comic season is here, and I feel like my pull list gets longer and longer. But hey, that's part of the fun. It's exciting.
Well, I guess really briefly, what's like another book or two that you're just like really hyped about? Because we hear about it in the group chat all the time, but maybe people that are listening could use an Eric Teskey recommendation.
An Eric Teskey recommendation. Well, we know that you got to be reading Bug Wars.
You have to.
I'm following both the Adjectiveless X-Men and Uncanny X-Men right now.
You and Will are going to have it out one of these days, and it's going to be glorious.
He is team Adjectiveless, and I've been liking Uncanny just a bit more recently. I saw an announcement for the very end of July. There's this series called Bring on the Bad Guys, and it's Marvel one-shots with villains in it. And Loki is going to get their own Bring on the Bad Guys one shot at July 30th, it looks like. So that's a ways away, but that's some more Loki goodness to be looking forward to. I'm following along with Strange of Asgard, Doom Academy. I'm picking up some of this Godzilla stuff. Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe #1, July 16th.
Comes out a few weeks after Godzilla versus Thor #1.
Yeah. And then there's Marvel United, a Pride special. And so if you're trying to find that, if you're trying to pre-order that and you're Googling for Marvel voices like you normally would, it's the title that came up when I'm looking at this in Comic Hub is Marvel United, a Pride special. So a little bit different naming convention there. I think that's really a sign that this issue is all about like rallying together and sort of uniting a community, like we talked with Luciano Vecchio about. So, and
go buy his variant cover. It kicks all the ass. Seriously, I'm going to well, by the time people are listening to this, I will have gone to Free Comic Book Day at my local-ish store. Again, how local is your store if it's 45 minutes away? I am going to specifically ask them, like, hey, I want the Pride special, but I want the Luciano Vecchio cover. And they'll be like, we don't know which one that is. I'm like, it's the one where Aaron Fisher and all the other heroes are punching Nazis in the face. I'm like, yes, we heard about that.
That one, yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. But God, I mean, everybody, if you haven't listened to our chat with Luciano, come on, like, what are you doing? Seriously, don't like. We're flattered that you're listening to us, but if you haven't listened to that episode, come on, like, you got to do that right now. So everybody, thank you so much, Eric. Thanks for riding shotgun. I miss our buddies, but I love these conversations we get to do, and we were each other's special guests today. It was fantastic. Thank you for joining me. I am pleased to have joined you. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. This was a fantastic conversation about TVA #5, and then a little bit of what we have coming up here for Thor-related stuff. Summer, like Eric said, summer is going to be a punch to the wallet, but we are going to enjoy every bit of it, and we're looking forward to all the different adventures we have across the 9 realms. But until then, we just remind you to do a few things, and that is, hey, no matter if you've awoken a Chaos Witch from slumber and you're trying to get her to decide if she's good or bad, if you have issues with your dad and you're unveiling your actual secret identity, trying to convince him that you're the actual one that's in charge, whether you're doing all these different things across timelines and across different realms, whatever you're doing, just remember to stay worthy.
Shall possess the power of Thor.
Bum 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 bum
Ba-dum bum.
bum 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 bum.